All right, guys, let's check out the Longines HydroConquest. This is the 41 millimeter. I think it's the most current one using the L888 movement, which is essentially an ETA A31 modified, well, not really modified. The ETA A31, I believe, is a modified ETA 2892. I know we're getting a little confusing here, but the reason it's an A31 and not the older models is because they have extended the power reserve to 64 hours versus like a 40, and it also slows the beat rate down to 3.5 hertz or 25,200 vibrations per hour versus the 28.8. Way too much information about the movement early on in the video. Let's switch up to the watch size. It is a 41 millimeter measured across from here to here, and lug to lug is about 50, maybe like 50.5 if you go to the extreme points, but it has a nice curve down, so that works totally fine. It is really thin using that particular movement, allows it to be thin, and I measured about 12 millimeter thick to the top of the sapphire crystal, which has AR coating on it, and an oddball lug width here at like 21 millimeter, but the bracelet does taper down to 19. And then you have a milled out center section, and then you have a stamped clasp, gasp, right? I know in this day and age, why are they still using a stamped clasp? Well, I mean, Breitling still uses this kind of a stamped clasp too with a milled center section. And well, I guess people gripe about that as well. And I'll cover something else interesting. Well, let's cover that right now, because here's another interesting thing, because Off Duty, who loaned this watch in, we call him Off Duty, also sent over the rubber or silicone strap that goes with it, and it is stamped as well, I guess, but it seems like it's just a little bit better designed, but it's absent of the diver extension, which this one has the diver extension. But then, you know, back to the Breitling thought, look at Breitling offers with their rubber strap, an actual legit really nice strap with no tool required adjustment. So they're out there, right? We've seen them with other brands. So there's really, for the most part, there's no excuse for using a stamped clasp, and there should be some better options there. Personally, I don't care. Honestly, it does not bother me one bit. The dive extension is right there. It's all stamped. I don't care. I never use it. It could not be there and add another micro adjust. I'd be fine with that. The one thing I do like about stamped clasp is they're typically thinner. So, and then once it's on wrist, I really don't care. So maybe it's less expensive. When it gets all scratched up, you could replace it easier or something. I don't know. It just doesn't bother me, but I know it bothers a ton of people. So back to the case size, 21, that's weird, 19, and a 6 millimeter screw down crown. You're gonna have 300 meter water resist on this. The weight on this with, it looks like a 1 full and a half link removed, weighs in at 177 grams. So it actually has a nice little weight to it. Actually kind of reminds me of the Breitling Super Ocean when it comes to that, like its feel and weight. It's very familiar with the 42 millimeter Super Ocean. Speaking of which, look at that, 42, 41. You would guess that this thing's almost like a 43. And even though it's a 41 by like 50, it definitely wears like a 42 by 50. Whereas this one, being a 42 by 50, wears more like almost like a 40 or 41. So case size, or you know, is not the determining factor of how it's going to feel and look on wrist. It's design and everything. So nice crown. The crown works fine. I did notice that the sharp edges on the crown guards and the fact that the crown is actually kind of offset down a little bit, that it will bite you a little bit. It's not like bad or anything like that. It's just you can feel it a little bit when you go to wind it or adjust it or anything like that. Obviously, this is the matte green colorway with that beautiful, I mean, the color on the ceramic bezel insert on this is so like rich, dark, rich, and glossy. This colorway is, this one and I think the like anthracite looking one are my two favorite for sure. Now the anthracite one, you're going to have more of a starburst or sunburst style dial, whereas this one's a matte look color to it. I almost lean more towards this one just for everyday use. The legibility on it is so good because there's no reflection at all from the dial or anything. All the reflection is from those applied indices and that fully polished handset. So it's so easy to glance down and catch the time on this. The hands don't, melt into the background or anything like that. Not that they do in the other colorways, but this one's super legible. So very, very good. The other thing that's kind of cool is, and I didn't pick up on it at first, but so obviously you're missing the large Arabic 3 here because of the date window, and you have them, everywhere else, but you actually have an applied indice with the 9, and you don't at the 12 and the 6. So there's a couple little weird things going on with the dial, but it just seems to work. And the logo is really cool with the wings and the hourglass. Of course, 300-meter automatic down below, Swiss made. This is part of the Swatch group. So, you're going to get a good product for sure. Here's a look at the case back. Nicely done. HydroConquest. EFC, Longines, all stainless steel, Swiss made. So, the center links are all polished. Yeah, they're going to get scratched up. That's the way it works. This one still has the plastic on it, so I'll show this side. But you can see that first middle link articulates, so it does that. So even though it has a longer lug to lug, this is still going to work on a lot of wrist size. And the case is like fully brushed. So the polish is mostly, for the bezel relief there, and then the center links. So personally, I wish they would have just went full brushed on the bracelet too, except for the polish maybe side there, but because the case is fully brushed. So it adds a nice little pop, but it's fine. Just get them scratched. 120 click, excellent bezel action. There's not really play. It just settles back into position, but it lines up perfectly, and the bezel action is smooth and consistent across its range. Nice audible tactile feel. Works great. Good AR coating on this too. The retail price tag, $1,600. Yeah, that's a legit deal. What does this really compete with? I feel like it competes more with like the Oris Aquas. I compared it obviously to the Super Ocean because they feel and look similar, but they're in different price leagues. Because this Longines, you can pick these up used, with maybe minimal wear for give or take that $1,000 range. So meaning like anywhere from like $800 to maybe $1,200, $1,300, depending on which model and colorway and everything. So used or gray market or however you want to get it is crazy good deal. But really, even buying it new with a discount, $1,600, maybe a little discount, I would just get it from the AD. They really, what do you, like if you're a flipper like me, you're going to flip it and you're going to lose a couple, $200-$300 maybe for your rental fee. This strap doesn't come with it. I think Off Duty picked this up additionally. So I don't think I'm going to put it on, but if you wanted to mix it up, it is a fitted strap and it's going to be super, super comfortable. I'm a bracelet guy, but I am warming up to straps. I'm actually wearing the Breitling Select 42 Premier in right now, and I'm digging some of the straps right now. So no problem there wearing the strap for me. I think I covered pretty much everything. Let's pop this guy on wrist. It's going to use Swiss Super Luminova, of course. It's part of the Swatch group, so they have access to some good lume. So we'll check the lume here in a minute. But here it is on my 7 1/4. Is that not perfect? For me, at least, a 7 1/4 inch wrist. I typically go for the 42x50, but I feel like this one is 42x50, even though it is a 41x50. It definitely fills that real estate that I'm after. And it's thin, so it's super, super comfortable. Just kind of hugs the wrist. Kind of reminds me, on wrist, it kind of reminds me if you've ever tried like a Glycine Combat Sub. It's not quite that big because that watch actually wears even bigger than this one, but the way it just kind of wraps around the wrist is beautiful. So very, very comfortable. If you haven't checked one of these out, do yourself a favor and check one out. Let's kill the lights and check the lume on this bad boy. I really like this green colorway. Yeah, so they loomed the Arabics, all the indices, has a nice cool blue lume to it, so it's BGW9, I'm assuming. Just clean, just a well done, clean, everyday type watch. Maybe see if you can have somebody brush out those center links, or just let them naturally brush out. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next vid.